"Don't tell them who I am," she begged. The words were so faint, so broken, that the cowboy wasn't sure he had heard them right at first. He turned, and there she was, an Apache girl, no more than 17, half hidden in the shadows of the corral, her clothes torn, her face smeared with dust and dried blood. Her eyes held something he'd only seen once before, the look of a hunted creature. The cowboy froze. Behind him, boots and rifles rattled. The sound of horses and men closing in drifted down the canyon trail. Soldiers, bluecoats, they were coming fast, and the girl was trembling, her hands pressed tight to her chest, as though trying to hold her soul from spilling out. "Don't tell them who I am," she whispered again, and then he saw it, the soldier's jacket draped across her shoulders, far too large for her small frame. An army jacket. He stiffened. The girl wasn't just an Apache. She wasn't just hiding. She was wearing the skin of the enemy. For a long second, the cowboy didn't breathe. He had seen lynchings over less. He had seen men dragged behind horses for days across the hard rock until nothing was left but dust and bones. If the soldiers caught her, there'd be no questions asked. Just bullets. And now they were almost here. The cowboy's name was Luke Carver, though most folks out this way just called him Silent Luke for his habit of keeping his words in a tight knot. He had come to this canyon for cattle, not for war, and certainly not to be pressed into someone else's fight. But fate had a cruel way of throwing fire where a man least wanted it. Luke met the girl's eyes again. They were dark, wide, desperate. She looked like a deer pinned down by hunters. Then the soldiers rounded the bend. Dust billowed, the sun flashing off sabers and rifles. Their leader, a tall officer with a jagged scar down his cheek, saw Luke standing there by the corral and barked, "You there, cowboy? Have you seen anyone come through here?" The girl's fingers clutched Luke's sleeve with a strength that surprised him. Her whisper cracked, raw with fear. "Please." Luke's mouth went dry. He could feel her trembling beside him, the air between them taut as a drawn bowstring. The soldiers reined up hard, horses snorting, rifles twitching in the sun. Luke swallowed. His silence stretched too long. The officer narrowed his eyes, leaning forward in the saddle. "Well," the cowboy lifted his hands slow, tugged his hat down, and spoke at last, his voice calm, steady as a river rock. "Ain't seen a soul." The girl's grip loosened, just a little, but her body still shook. The officer's scar pulled tight as he sneered. "You're certain, cowboy? An Apache girl, about yay tall, running south. Rumor says she killed one of ours, slit his throat in the night and stole his jacket. We'll hang her when we find her. You'd best not be lying." Luke's heart thudded hard against his ribs. He didn't glance at her. Didn't dare. "I'd know if I seen her. But I didn't." The officer spat in the dust, motioned for his men to ride on, and in moments the canyon swallowed their thunder. Only when the sound had died did Luke finally turn to the girl. Her shoulders sagged, tears cut streaks through the grime on her face. "You lied for me," she whispered. Luke studied her for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "Didn't do it for you. Did it 'cause I don't like men hunting down a child like wolves." "I'm no child." Her voice cracked, but her chin lifted stubbornly. "And I'm no one's victim." Luke almost laughed, but the sound caught in his throat. She was proud, too proud for her years, but he could see the bruises on her wrists, the cuts along her hands. Someone had bound her, beaten her, and she had clawed her way free. "Name," Luke said finally. She hesitated, then shook her head. "No name. Not for you. Not for anyone. The less you know, the safer." Luke studied her a moment longer, then sighed and turned toward the ranch house. "You hungry?" The girl blinked, startled by the question. Slowly, she nodded. "Then come," Luke said. "We'll figure the rest after." That night, by the dim light of an oil lamp, Luke watched her eat like a starved wolf pup, tearing bread with her teeth, sipping water so fast she coughed. He didn't ask questions, though they burned at the edges of his mind. Why was she wearing that soldier's jacket? Did she really kill a man to take it? When she finally looked up, her eyes softened a fraction. "Why did you help me?" Luke leaned back in his chair, shadows carving deep lines into his weathered face. "Because I've seen too many men hang for things they didn't do. And because I don't like the look of that officer." Her lips pressed tight. She shivered, clutching the jacket around her shoulders like a shield. "That man, he killed my mother." Luke's chest tightened. She swallowed hard, her voice breaking. "They came at dawn. Soldiers. Said our people had raided a supply train. We hadn't. We had nothing. Just women, children, elders. He cut her down in front of me. Laughed while he did it. I waited until night. Slipped into his tent. Took his knife. Took this jacket. Her fingers dug into the fabric. I left him bleeding like my mother. The air turned heavy, thick with the weight of her words. Luke's stomach churned. The girl was no thief. No runaway. She was vengeance made flesh. Before he could answer, a sound split the night, distant, sharp. A rifle crack, then another. Horses screamed in the distance. The girl's eyes widened in terror. Luke was on his feet in an instant, snatching his Winchester from the wall. He pushed open the door, scanning the dark hills. Torches flickered far off, moving fast. Soldiers, again, they'll kill you if they find you here, the girl whispered, her voice trembling. For helping me. Luke looked back at her, the firelight dancing in his steel-gray eyes. Maybe, but I ain't one to stand by while men chase down a girl like coyotes. You stay close. She hesitated, then she nodded. By dawn, they were gone from the ranch, riding south through canyons few dared enter. The soldiers would burn Luke's place to the ground, but he didn't look back. For 3 days they rode together, silent most of the time, but something unspoken grew between them, a bond forged in fire and danger. Luke learned she could move through the desert like a shadow, finding water in places he'd never have guessed. He learned she had a scar down her ribs, a reminder of chains that had once cut into her skin. And he learned her name at last. Anita, she whispered one night by the fire, her voice so soft he almost missed it. My mother called me Anita. Luke gave a slow nod. Anita, that's a strong name. Her eyes flicked to him, almost shy. Don't tell anyone, wouldn't dare. But secrets have a way of catching fire, and Anita's burned hotter than most. On the 5th day, as they crossed a dry riverbed, the thunder of hooves broke the silence. Soldiers poured from the ridges, rifles raised, the scarred officer at their head. His eyes gleamed when he saw Anita. There she is, he roared, the witch that slit my brother's throat. Anita froze. Luke turned in his saddle, rifle raised, his gut twisting. The truth hit him like a hammer. The officer's scar, it wasn't from battle. It was fresh. A brother's vengeance burned in his eyes. Luke fired first. A soldier toppled. Chaos erupted, shouting, gunfire, horses screaming. Anita leapt from her horse, diving into the rocks, vanishing like smoke. Luke fought like a man possessed, his Winchester cracking again and again, but there were too many. Bullets sang past his ears. A horse went down hard, pinning a soldier beneath, and then the officer was on him, swinging a saber. Luke barely dodged, the blade grazing his shoulder. Pain seared hot, but he didn't falter. He slammed the butt of his rifle into the officer's face. The man staggered, blood streaming, and in that moment Anita appeared from the rocks, a knife gleaming in her hand. She struck like lightning, the blade pressing to the officer's throat. Her eyes burned. For my mother. Luke held his breath. The soldiers froze, watching. But Anita didn't cut. Not yet. She trembled, the knife digging into the officer's skin, her whole body shaking with rage. Luke saw it. She wanted to kill him, but something held her back. The officer sneered through blood. Do it, squaw. Prove you're no better than us. Luke stepped forward, voice low, steady. Anita, don't. Killing him won't bring her back. Won't bring any of them back. But if you do, they'll never stop hunting you. Never. Her breath came ragged. Tears filled her eyes. Slowly, painfully, she lowered the blade. The soldiers shifted, uncertain. The officer spat blood, snarling, "You'll regret that." Luke raised his rifle again, eyes cold. Maybe, but not today. Today you ride out, or you don't ride at all. The silence stretched. Dust swirled into dawnlight. Finally, the officer gave a sharp whistle. The soldiers backed away, dragging their wounded, glaring hatred at the pair left standing in the riverbed. When they were gone, Anita collapsed to her knees, the knife clattering from her hands. Luke knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You did the hardest thing," he said quietly. "You chose to live." She looked up at him, tears streaking her dirt-stained face. "But who am I now? Apache, outlaw, monster." Luke shook his head. "You're Anita. That's enough." They rode on, not as hunter and prey, not as cowboy and fugitive, but as two souls bound by a secret the world could never know. And though the desert stretched endless before them, and though the shadow of soldiers would always stalk their trail, Anita's whisper lingered in Luke's mind, softer than the wind, stronger than any bullet. "Don't tell them who I am.